Hello, and welcome to this Quizlet introduction video. Here you will find an excerpt of a longer webinar, which was part of our Going Mobile series, hosted by Laura Porter and Heidi Larson. We hope you enjoy this video and find ways in which you can use this multifunctional application to serve your students.
Today we're going to look at Quizlet, which is a really powerful learning tool. And I just want to mention that a lot of this section of slides was actually provided by Quizlet, and then I adapted it to our presentation. So they provide a lot of really great technical assistance and support on their website. So the link to that is at the end of this PowerPoint, and I really encourage you to just dive in and look at the materials they provide to help you navigate and figure out how to use it effectively. We will go over a number of the features today, but there's a lot of support on Quizlet's website. And if you have already used Quizlet before, I really encourage you to try new features that you may not have used. So look for ways you can go deeper with it. If you haven't tried using Quizlet Live, we'll talk a little bit about that. You also can create diagrams to teach vocabulary about specific topics that might be well suited to go with a picture. So those are some ways you might be able to explore new directions with Quizlet. These are some of the reasons why Quizlet is becoming really popular in all types of settings, from middle school to university classes. My son was using Quizlet in 7th and 8th grade, and that was when I first started to see it. And then I became aware of it as a teaching tool that we could use and started to use it in my classes. And it's really been a great way to reinforce vocabulary. Students like it. It's very engaging and motivating and easy to access both in the class and outside of the classroom. There's a number of different ways, so they have choices in what they do to practice the material. There's 8 different learning activities and games, so they can find the ones that they like the best, or they can progress through a series that kind of build on learning and practicing and quizzing, and then different ways to reinforce the material. It's free and easy to use. We will provide a handout that you can give to your students that helps them get into a class that you create with your materials. And you can manage your classes. So with the free account, you can create up to 8 classes. And if you upgrade for $3 a month, you can have an unlimited number of classes, and in that situation you can also track your student progress, so you can see what your students are doing, which activities they're doing, how well they're learning the materials. At this point I've never had the upgraded version, but I feel like you can still do an awful lot with the free version. As I mentioned, you can use it in class. They can practice and do things in class as an activity. You can also encourage them to practice vocabulary outside of class or content materials outside of class. And there are ways you can use it for both group activities or individual activities. And just like the other apps we've looked at, you can download it through the App Store or on Google Play. And the website has a section on mobile use, so Quizlet.com/mobile, as Heidi just linked in the chat. So as I mentioned, there's 7 different activities, actually 8 if you include the Quizlet Live game, which is not listed here, but this is the array of activities that students will see. Starting with learning, which basically presents the material, and flashcards where they can practice the definition and the term. They can practice writing, and they can do spelling practice. They can also do a test, which kind of reviews everything that they've done in a study set and tests their learning. And then on the right side, the last 2 are games. Matching you can do on computers and mobile devices. Gravity, you can only do that one on a computer. So Gravity and Spell are not available on mobile devices, but all the rest of them are. So now we're going to look at how you can actually create the sets, or you can also use existing ones created by other Quizlet users, which you then would probably have to modify. Okay. You have a choice. You can start by looking at what's already been created, but I really encourage you to make your own sets, because then they're tailor-made to what you've been working on with your students, the exact materials, the exact content and terms that you may have been working on. This I've really used mostly for vocabulary, though you can do some other things with it, but it really is very well suited to vocabulary development. Another reason why I recommend making your own materials is that you really have to go through any other materials that you use and double check what's being shared, what's being taught in somebody else's set of materials, and whether the definitions are appropriate or work for what you've been teaching, and that itself is very time consuming. So I think ultimately if you get used to making your own study sets, it's going to be really valuable. So I'm just going to go through the process of creating your own study set and some of the features here. So you can import material, which means if you have a spreadsheet on Excel, you can just upload that into Quizlet. So if you already have your terms and definitions, you don't have to go through one by one creating them in Quizlet. It'll do that for you. So that's a real time saver. You can also include and label a diagram. So depending on what it is that you're teaching, like if you're talking about the features of the face, you could have eyes and ears and nose and mouth and teeth. All of those would be well suited to a diagram where you'd have a picture. You could also do that to do, furniture in a room or parts of a house. So anything that is clearly distinguished in terms of a picture, you could do that by adding a label, adding and labeling a diagram. You set the languages. So in our case, we're mostly going to be doing English to English, but students also would have the option, if they wanted to practice English to their native language, they could develop their own vocabulary sets to do that. And as you build student confidence and familiarity, that's actually a great direction to go, is actually helping the students be able to build their own vocabulary sets as well. A couple more things. You can use the auto-define. So Quizlet will offer you some definitions, which then you can tweak, you can revise, shorten, add details as needed. You can also add images from a somewhat select group of options that Quizlet has available. If you have if you pay for the fancier version, then you can add your own images and you can upload other ones and audio. And finally, you can select your privacy permissions. So you can decide whether your study set is available to everyone, so publicly visible, or if it's only available to your class. And that's a helpful feature. You can also decide whether it's only editable by you, or if you can share it with people and provide a password that other people can use to be able to edit it. So that's a great option if a class is going to be working on creating a study set together, then they would all have access to that, and you'd want to make sure they have access to the password. Okay, so Heidi, if you want to pop out to show them the study set that we created. So I created a Going Mobile study set for our professional learning community. And this is one that you can use to, I think you're in the other page. So this is a study set that reinforces the materials that we've been talking about in the first session and this session. You can use this to practice and get familiar with Quizlet. It's got a lot of information about the different apps that we've been using and some of the materials that we've been going through in the sessions. And so this is an opportunity for you to practice and use Quizlet to learn the concepts that we've been talking about in the Going Mobile professional learning community. So if you have set up Quizlet on your phones, if you can go in now to Quizlet and look for Going Mobile, you should see there are actually several other sets that are called Going Mobile, but make sure that you're looking for HTC L Porter. You should see it with what, as Heidi has demonstrated here. So take a minute on your phones, and once you've found it, go ahead and raise your hands.
Oh my god. I just saw my face, I think. This is like automatically put my hand here. I don't think so. My microphone's off. That would be embarrassing.
Okay, so I see a couple people in. If people haven't set up Quizlet, we will go ahead and do a little bit of a demo as we go ahead. But before we do that, Heidi, can you jump back into the PowerPoint for a minute and go to the next slide?
Laura?
Yeah. Okay. Great. So, and if you want to expand to the full screen on that,
Sorry.
Heidi, that would be
We'll
great.
do that.
So the other option for study sets, as I mentioned, is that you can use materials that have already been created and then adapt them to your own class specifics. So here's, this is a picture of a number of searches I did just going to see, some other things that were created by ESL teachers. So I did a search for ESL vocabulary and found a bunch of different things. This is just a selection of things that I found. So weather, terminology, fruit, place prepositions, and you'll notice on those 3 different sections that all of them have pictures with them. So that's, you can include pictures with your terms, or you could just have a picture and not a definition. And then on the far right side, you'll see that there's a more advanced study set focused on kind of a career pathways focus, advancing on the job, promotion, work ethic, take the initiative. So those are getting into much higher level concepts, and they don't have any pictures with them. So that would be a different type of application depending on what your students are studying. So I'm going to give you all about 5 minutes now, 5 or 6 minutes, and ask you to either do a search for materials created by other ESL teachers, so maybe a topic that you're working on in your class, and you can do a search at the top of your Quizlet page and see, what you find on that topic. Alternatively, you could go into our Going Mobile study set and practice with the materials that we developed. So you can do either one of those, and if you do not have Quizlet set up on your phone, Heidi is going to just do a little silent demo, so you can follow along with her. She's looking at the prepositions of place that was on the materials created by other ESL teachers, and she's just going to show you some of the things that you can do in the different study and play options here. So any of those options for the next 5 or 6 minutes. And Kate, if you want to set the clock for 6 minutes, that would be great.
Laura, I just have a quick question, but I can ask it later if that's better.
That's okay.
Okay. So if I were a student and I really liked this study set about going mobile, is there a way that I could save it to come back to it, or do I have to search for it each time?
That is a really good question. I am not 100% sure.
I know
think there is a way.
Laura, I know it saves your recent ones so that and it saves them for a very long time so that you can come back there.
I see that in the mobile version, there's like the 3 white dots at the top right, and one of the options is add to folder or add to class, but I don't know what that's actually doing. But
that's, let me research that and get back to you. Offhand, I don't know. I'm sure there probably is a way that they can quickly save it and have it in their activities that they come back to on a regular basis.
okay.
Definitely saving the URLs. I know that I used to save the URLs of all the different ones that I liked, and then could just shoot the students the URL for it, and you could do it via WhatsApp for sure, and they could just get right in. But yeah, that's probably true. I don't know. Maybe Bob, do you know? Can you save the ones that you like in a special folder?
There is an add to folder option, so I would guess that might be the way that they would keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be able to save in a folder, and yeah, what I do is I save the URL. It's it's a direct pointer, if you want to keep track of them.
And that's nice too. If you have a list of the URLs that you like with like a name next to it, then you can just use it class after class after class, and obviously keep a lookout for even better ones.
Right. Yeah, the other thing is anything you want, you can duplicate into your own area and then modify it a little bit if you like.
Yes, so that's a really, say that again?
The thing I don't see how to do is to get back to the folder. So like I just added this set to a folder, but I don't know how to get to that folder.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, I'm happy to just push buttons and play around until I figure it out.
So it looks like Lewis just said if you click on the word Quizlet, it'll bring you back to your home page. So maybe try that, Sarah.
It also does look like there is, like I just typed in economics as a topic, and you have the option of sharing it where you can send the link to somebody, but there's a plus next to that, so you can add a set to your class or your folder by clicking on the plus sign right under it says economics at the top, and then it gives a bunch of options underneath in little circles for choices you can make to do with the set. So it does look like you could add it to, add the class to your class or to your folder.
So Heidi is showing us now the write option where she has to write in the information, the term that goes with the picture and the fill in the blank. One challenge with this set is that this set was created with several options for the correct word, and you have to put it exactly as listed. So if it's like a on top of, you have to, so here's an example, next to should actually be next to / beside / by. So that's a lot for students to keep track of, and if I were going to revise this, I would only teach them one term. Is there any way students can access these quizzes without creating an account? That's, I think not. I think they have to go into Quizlet and have have a setup, but I'm not 100% sure.
Can I just answer that quickly?
Sure.
I am not 100% sure with the quizzes, but I know, as I mentioned in the chat, that in the Tech Savvy Administrator module at the very beginning, that was just a, the matching game was just I embedded it. It was a link. And the only thing that I couldn't do if I didn't open my account was compare my scores with everybody else's. So I do think they can have access to the sets without their own account.
Okay.
Yeah, but it just means they won't be able to track them or save them in their folder or keep them, organize them. It just means they'll have access to that one link that's provided.
Okay. Yeah, I think for ongoing practice, if they want to do multiple activities, then you'd want to have them have an account so they can, have time and access to go back into it. Okay.
I'll just say I like
time
this one because this one is type what you hear, and I'm not sure if you can hear it, but let's see behind. I'll just go to the next one. So it'll say a word and then see if the students can hear it and understand it. Anyway, that's it.
Okay. There's lots of different things, both pre-created sets that you can go in and explore, and then you can also look at making your own sets. Did anybody have other, is the timer an optional feature? I don't think so. I think it's a timed competition. So you're up against an endless timer. It can take 5 minutes to finish the set, but it's not an option. I mean, it's just part of the game. You're kind of racing the clock. Any other things people noticed as you were looking at the Quizlet sets that were either pre-created, or if anybody explored our set?
I thought it was really cool. I really enjoyed practicing. I did the matching activities for the set that you created.
Okay.
It took me longer than I thought it was going to because of the length of some of the answers and me trying to process what it was, what was the definition. But happy to say I beat your score, Laura. So first place now.
And you would ideally not be doing that as the first activity. Students would start with learning and practicing and doing the vocabulary cards. So there is kind of a sequence of, learning the materials, and then that would be one that was really to reinforce what they've already been practicing.
Makes sense.
Okay, great. So this Quizlet has so many features. It really needs time to get into kind of exploring all the different options and ways you can use it. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I really encourage you to just set aside some time to go ahead and play with it. You can use our Going Mobile set. You can also look at another set that might be aligned to what you're teaching, and just take some time to really see how it works. And then once you feel comfortable, create some time in your classes to show those things. So the first time I used Quizlet with my students, I definitely put it up on the screen and kind of walk them through the different activities so they can see how they work, and then let them go ahead and play on the computers themselves or in pairs so they can practice and get familiar with it.
And then they can go off and practice on their own.
Absolutely. So you want to have them both be able to do it on the computers, but then once they're able to access it on their phones and make sure and check in class that everyone can access it on their phones, then they start to do it independently, and it really builds confidence. All right. So just want to mention creating a class. So you will see the option to create a class on the sidebar, and you can put specific sets to any of your classes within your own classes that you've created. So if you have several different classes that you're teaching and you have different vocabulary that you've gone through according to those classes, you can separate your Quizlet sets by class. And then you can invite your students to join via class link. And if you have set up a WhatsApp group, it's easy to put that right into WhatsApp and they can just click to join it. We also are sharing a handout where you can put your class link information and give that as a handout to students. So that's in Blackboard as well. All right. The last thing I just wanted to mention is Quizlet Live. So this is a game that you play in class, and it reinforces the material from a study set that you've been working on, and it also encourages communication skills between students. So the way it works is that students will be assigned to teams. Quizlet assigns them to teams based on the devices that are aligned to, that are hooked in to play the game. There's a code that they will enter, and then their device is registered to play as one of the players with Quizlet Live, and Quizlet Live will assign them groups. So they'll be randomly set up with other players, and then their teams will be given names like tigers, bison, lions, bears, and they really enjoy sort of the, you know, the competition part of being set up in teams. And once you've introduced it the first time, it can be a little confusing, so I really encourage you to try it a couple times so until they feel comfortable, and then the next time you play, it's familiar and they are really excited to play. So my students have really enjoyed playing Quizlet Live. You should be able to play Quizlet Live. Make sure that you sign up as a teacher. So if you don't see Quizlet Live coming up as an option in your activities, you should definitely go back in and make sure that you're registered as a teacher when you sign in.